did some Anderson poles on the WhatsApp meter, and also converted the batteries connectors to Anderson pole. I trimmed off the excessive cable coming in from the solar panel and then shortened that with an Anderson pole ending in there. I had to take out the solar charge controller out to do some soldering, also converting the connectors for the charge controller to Anderson pole. So here's a quick view of the solar charge controller. These wires were added to it by removing the earlier wiring, and I had to put some liquid electric tape right there at the joints. You know, I didn't want these wires to be moving, number one. Given that the station is a mobile station, the liquid electric tape will provide that stress-free experience for these cables. And the liquid tape I use is this product here. I've been very happy with it. It works pretty good. I've used it for quite some time now, and it really works well. With that, I'll let this thing dry overnight, and tomorrow I'll get this all assembled. So last night I did some Anderson poles conversion and wiring, installation of course the WhatsApp meter, converted them over to Anderson pole. This is the connector with the fuse box coming in from the 897. That's an Anderson pole junction box I made last night. Nothing fancy. Just took the load from the WhatsApp meter, and then I split the positive negative into multiple and connected them over and made a junction box with Anderson poles. And then I connected the ATAS to it. I connected the TNC to it. I think when I made the Anderson pole for TNC, I switched the positive and negative. So I when you see here, you can tell that I switched the polarity to make sure it's properly connected to the TNC. So the solar charge controller has the battery, the solar, and the load connectors. The load goes to the WhatsApp's source. The solar obviously is connected to the solar panel. The battery is connected to batteries. In this case, the batteries are parallel connected to get me 12 volts at 20 amp hours, and that's it really. And then from the load, from the WhatsApp meter, the load goes to the various devices that need to be powered up in the system. I still have to make or decide or make some decisions on how am I going to power the laptop. Obviously the laptop is going to draw a lot more current, so I'll have to revisit that very quickly here. But anyways, I thought I'd do a quick test. Right now the solar charge controller is charging the batteries while the WhatsApp meter is drawing current from the batteries. So let's go around here. So I got the WhatsApp meter running. So the system is technically wired up for it to function. With everything switched off, the WhatsApp meter remains running, and it keeps informing the various levels of the battery and the charge and whatnot. I'll do a separate video on those numbers. So when I was wiring up my battery and the other components in the system, I had accidentally shorted the wires, and it so happened that my Cantronics was connected to the batteries when I was shorting it. And I think I blew the via line right there, so it kind of burned out, as you can tell. So it wasn't powering up, so I had to take it apart and then I had to fix this problem. So what I did was I basically put a piece of wire, a lead from an old broken LED. I took one of the leads out and basically connected them together. I may have to move this just a tad bit. So yeah, so that seems to have fixed the problem. It's my bad. I should have paid some extra attention as I was wiring it up. These vias are really light, and definitely that burnt it. So I'm at a point where I'm bringing all the wires together. So I made this box from an old unused DeWalt drill bit box. So I kind of screwed it on to the frame, and I'm gonna use this for all of these wires to come in, and then use this as my sort of like a junction box almost. That way the wires are not running around everywhere. I can bring them all in here, zip tie them, keep them secured, and it keeps the wiring that much cleaner. I'm going to take this logo out of this box by sanding it down and then painting this with the same color as a camo color. I want to have a similar box on the other side of the frame for small tools like a couple of screwdrivers and pliers and so forth, just so I have those tools handy if in case you need to tighten things down or take something apart or whatever. And the way this thing opens is fairly straightforward. Just slide this in, it kind of opens up like so, and using your step drill I made a few holes here for the wires to come through. So here's the other side of the frame by the microphone side. This is the toolbox I was telling you about. Basically I just pilot hold into this box and secured it. The next step is to paint this whole thing. I'm gonna remove this logo just like on the other side for the wire box. So basically the way it looks just for high level, basically you slide this out, and there's your toolbox, and set to go. So I mean, you could make this really fancy and do stuff like slots and compartments or whatever, but I'm just gonna leave it as is. A quick update: I took my DeWalt drill bit toolbox and I painted the case with the camo paint. I took out the DeWalt's logo from the case by simply sanding it down with a sandpaper, with a high grit sandpaper, and I put my call sign on one of the boxes here. This will be on the toolbox side of the shack to go frame. This is done using a simple military stencil cut, and just pasted or taped it over the box and sprayed it over with a lighter tone. Here's the other shell. So anyways, I thought I'd do a quick short coverage of this before I put them on the frame. Alright, so a quick update. The project is about 95% completed, and I did some big time wiring and some additions to this project late last night. I was up quite a bit last night to get a few things wrapped up on this project. I think really I'll give you a quick walkthrough, but before I did that, I'll give you a quick summary of what's left to be done. Really, I found out an idea for the laptop and where that should go within this whole setup. So that's one. And then the other piece of the puzzle is to make sure I install the 12-volt outlet into the system. Again, that's an easy one to do. The third piece of the puzzle is to put a surface underneath the batteries for them to lay on a plain surface so they're not wobbly, and that's another third piece of the puzzle. Let me start with the frame. So the project is completed, like I was saying, and the TNC, the Yaesu 857 rather, the What's Up meter is up and running. It's now wired up fully. I also added a few cool things to kind of wrap it up. A toolbox to the side of the frame, and I put in my call sign on it. This was a DeWalt toolbox we saw in the previous segment. Basically, I painted that. I sanded the DeWalt's logo down with a high grit sandpaper, and then painted it with the camo paint, and then stenciled out my call sign. And the way this thing works is basically you slide this part out, and there's your toolbox. And I thought this might be a good addition to add. So that's that. And on this side of the frame, here's another DeWalt toolbox. This one also, like the other toolbox, I basically did the same thing. The reason why I added this is for the sort of like a circuit box almost for all of these wirings, so they're not all over the place. Let me try to get this opened up. Alright, so let's see. So basically they're all it looks a little bit disorganized, but actually it is fairly organized. The cables are just a little bit lengthier than I had originally planned for. In the back of this case, there are a couple of inlets for the wires to come through from the back, and they are secured through a zip tie. And likewise on this side of the town, there's a couple of zip ties holding the wires down. I added an inline 30 amp fuse box coming in from the What's Up load. I was thinking of adding a power switch perhaps on the inside, so that you can, if you need it to, you can switch off the whole power, and I will do that maybe sometime when I have some spare time. So that's that. Coming to the carrier, so I have here with the carrying belt, the waist support. So the way this is going to work is it's going to secure itself to the frame with these metal tie-ins, and as you can tell, there's a good area here that's definitely usable for carrying things like water bottle or whatever be it. I was thinking of putting a Velcro strip in here, securing my laptop in that section, like so. So if you look in the back, the Velcro goes through the center beam there. The laptop will be well secured, which works out pretty good.